When I think of fighting type Pokemon in Generation 1, I don't, because it's often a forgotten type to me. While their offensive stats are great, the fighting types in Generation 1 aren't very defensive or fast overall. I'm looking at you, Poliwrath and Machamp. And their biggest weakness is the strongest type in Generation 1, the Psychic type. And throughout our journey, we're going to see plenty of them, along with the Ghost type, who's completely immune to the fighting type. And the Ghastly line in this game learns both Hypnosis and Dream Eater. But let's see if I can beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Red using only the fighting type. The rules are on screen, but also in the description. I have 4 choices of who to start this Nuzlocke off with: Mankey, Hitmonlee, Machop, and Hitmonchan. Hitmonlee obviously makes this too easy since it starts with Double Kick and Meditate, and it's a pretty good Pokemon overall, but we may need to lean on the Kicking Fiend to get this Nuzlocke off the ground. Its counterpart Hitmonchan, however, is terrible. It's one of my solo runs that I've been dreading to redo, and I'll probably put it off until one of the very last ones I do. I have some ranges on screen against Brock in case you're wondering. If Hitmonchan could go to 15 above a damage rounding threshold, this would be a different story, but in my runs I don't allow edging or exceeding the level cap in battle. It just defeats the purpose to me. But hey, other people have their rules and I have mine. Mankey unfortunately also doesn't get Karate Chop until level 15, which is stronger than Scratch and has critical hit upside. And there are some ranges on screen for Mankey as well. Mankey at least starts with Leer as well. And if this were Pokemon Yellow, perhaps it could get by Brock. But we're not playing Yellow, we're playing Pokemon Red, which is the version that's exclusive to Mankey. But there's one Pokemon I haven't shown the ranges for, and that's because I wanted to choose it as my starter to see if it was possible, and that's Machop. And in this battle against Brock, this Machop has perfect IVs and has been trained optimally for stat experience in this early game. And while I'm able to make it by the Geodude with decent health, you can see that I'm just not doing very much damage to Onix. And once it starts setting up screeches, hits me with a few tackles, and goes for Bide, our little Machop fails. And like I said in the beginning of the run, we're going to need to rely on Hitmonlee to get this Nuzlocke off the ground. And while Hitmonlee doesn't need level 14 to get by Brock, you can see how easy this battle is with our Kicking Fiend. There's nothing eventful between Pewter and Cerulean. I just grabbed the Mega Punch TM in Mount Moon because we're not going to be getting a new encounter until Cerulean. But I have to say, despite seeing a bunch of bug and poison types in this early game, after a Meditate or two, Double Kick just absolutely wrecks them. I know Mega Punch would be the better option to use against them, but you know me, I always forget to teach my TMs. After grabbing the Helix Fossil, I arrive in Cerulean, and I opt to take on the rival first before Misty. My plan was to do as much of Nugget Bridge as possible before I have to backtrack, because originally I thought Mankey could be found on routes 24 or 25. Anyway, the rival battle is pretty easy considering Pidgeotto doesn't wreck my accuracy with Sand Attack. I love starting with a move like Meditate, and unfortunately for Hitmonlee, I'm only able to make it through the first 3 trainers of Nugget Bridge before I start to worry about the level cap, so I backtrack to Cerulean City, enter the gym, fight the 1 mandatory junior trainer, and then take on Misty. And even though Misty's water type moves, which are classified as special moves, can hit me hard, Hitmonlee can hit harder with both its legs and its fist, because I remembered to teach Mega Punch prior to the battle. After using the first 2 turns in battle to set up Meditate, Double Kick takes out her lead Staryu with ease, moving on to Starmie. It's faster and its tackle doesn't do much, as Mega Punch brings Starmie to low red health. Misty then throws the battle going for an X-Defend, as Hitmonlee delivers the finishing blow, earning us the Cascade badge. At this point in the Nuzlocke, I'm starting to think about our next level cap. As you saw at the end of the Misty battle, Hitmonlee reached level 22 after defeating Starmie, and with our level cap at 24 and a few more mandatory trainers in front of us, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep Hitmonlee under the level cap. We do have a new encounter coming up shortly that gets access to the TM for Dig, so at least we'll have super effective damage for Surge, but I have a feeling I'm still going to need to switch in Hitmonlee on a few opponents. On Route 5, we can get said next encounter, which we encounter right away thanks to the power of video video editing. Mankey. This angry pig monkey Pokemon doesn't want to stay in the damn ball at first, and I don't want to attack it with Hitmonlee cause I'll knock it out. I just have to chuck balls and pray, and eventually it stays. With my new encounter, it's down to the SS and we go. I'll be fighting the one optional junior trainer to grab the TM for Body Slam. While this move would be great to put on Hitmonlee or even Mankey to use against Surge, I'm going to be saving it for our next encounter. Unfortunately, in the battle against the rival, not only did I forget to heal Mankey, but it's also a bit underleveled, which means after an opening switcheroo, Hitmonlee is going to be soloing the rival, which is going to cause him to exceed Surge's level cap of 24. Not the end of the world, but as we know, especially in a Nuzlocke, 2 Pokemon are better than 1. The rival as of now still isn't a challenge, but I expect that to change around Silphco. Since Mankey is the lone Pokemon I can use, I get some stat experience training in, bring him up to the cap, and take on the real American hero Lieutenant Surge. His lead is Voltorb as I lead my angry pig monkey. Voltorb is faster and opens with a Sonic Boom. Not what you want to see, especially since my max HP is 56. Thankfully, Dig one-shots the wannabe Pokeball, and Mankey is faster than Pikachu and Dig one-shots it as well. But now we have to deal with Raichu. If Surge opens with Thunderbolt, I think that's GG's for this run. But if we get Thundershock, Growl, or even an X-Speed, there's a small chance. We do see the turn 1 X-Speed, followed by a Thunderbolt as we're underground. Dig hits and leaves Raichu on low red health. Damn, a crit would have done it. Raichu chooses an attacking move the next turn, but it's the weaker Thunder Shock, which Mankey survives on 16 HP. It doesn't cause paralysis, and we've earned ourselves the Thunder Badge. But more importantly, the TM for Thunderbolt. And for a job well done, I'm going to teach that to Mankey right now, because I think this move might be useful later on despite our not so good special stat. Let's jump ahead to Rock Tunnel where we have our next encounter, Machop. And let me tell you, I thought we were going to lose Mankey trying to capture this thing. Of our 5 encounters, I think Machop might have the best overall IV spread compared to my other Pokemon. Mankey has a 0 in both HP and attack. Lovely. And you could make the argument that Hitmonlee's IV spread might be better than Machop's. Later on in Rock Tunnel, there's this hiker. He gets mentioned in other videos, and he wants to play a game of rock, paper, scissors. But he has a special weapon, Bomb. That's okay, hiker. I have my own secret weapon to bring to this game. Foot, and in the words of Red Foreman, Hitmonlee drives its foot up his rock type's ass. Upon arriving in Celadon, we have a few evolutions that take place just below Erica's level cap of 29, with Mankey evolving into a Primeape and Machop evolving into a Machoke, and with the help of a trade, we can get access to Machamp, an absolute powerhouse. The team we're building right now, this is the team Bruno should have had. I head to the department store and grab the Ice Beam TM from the girl on the roof, along with the Rock Slide TM, before purchasing 3 copies of the Mega Kick TM to keep Red Foreman proud. With our errands done for now, let's take on the Grass-type specialist Erica. She leads Victreebel as I lead Hitmonlee. My opening Mega Kick does about 2/3 to her lead, as it misses Sleep Powder. I finish it the next turn and that's her most dangerous Pokemon down. Against Tangela, I can squeeze in a Meditate as it wastes my time with Bind, before Mega Kick one-shots it. Red Foreman, any thoughts on that one-shot?
I have never been prouder.
And as you just saw, Vileplume stood no chance against the Kicking Fiend as we earn our 4th gym badge. We can wrap up business in Celadon by taking on Giovanni in the Game Corner hideout. All of his Pokemon are weak to fighting type attacks, and what a better time than for Machamp to make its battle debut. Low Kick has 1 or 2 shots on all of his Pokemon. Let's move on. With the Sylph Scope in hand, it's time to head to Pokemon Tower, but first we have a battle against our rival. And as this battle plays out in the background, maybe you're someone who's watching right now who's thinking, what are you going to do for all the ghost types? The ghost types aren't going to be a problem, just wait and see. Just like how the rival isn't a problem for Machamp, I've taught this thing the Rock Slide TM we picked up in Celadon, which gives me super effective damage against 3 of the rival's 5 Pokemon, and its pure physical power is too much for Execute or Kadabra to handle right now. And as far as the ghost types within Pokemon Tower, we have Primeape with super effective Dig to easily one-shot any Ghastlies. But as I was playing this section section of the run, I thought about Hitmonlee because it's one of my solo runs I need to redo, because the run I did is well over 3 years old now. Yep, released May 11th, 2023, and I thought to myself, what the hell am I gonna do in this section of the run? Use Bide? Completely forgetting that Seismic Toss is a TM that's available on Route 25. After rescuing Mr. Fuji, I can make my way south of Lavender after waking up the Snorlax and visit the fishing guru's house for the super rod. I then fly back to Celadon and use said rod, where I can fish myself up a Poliwhirl, and with the level cap being at 43 right now, that's perfect, because Poliwhirl can get the most important move in this run, which I think will be key for dealing with psychic types later on. There are a few more errands I need to do before heading down to Fuchsia. The first is making a pit stop to the 10th floor of Silphco, battling the one Rocket Grunt with a Machoke, props for using fighting types my dude, and I can grab the TM for Earthquake, which I'm going to be teaching to Machamp right away. Since Poliwhirl learns Amnesia at level 41, I can bring it to that level, keeping it under Koga and Sabrina's level cap, and evolve it into Poliwrath via a Water Stone. The last thing I'm going to do is get our final encounter. I can't remember the last time I had to go into the fighting dojo for any of my runs. It's just one of those places you don't ever go to unless you're having a terribly bad run, or the Pokemon you're running needs a very high level for the endgame. But even then, I think there are more efficient, experienced trainers within Silphco. Someone in the comments can fact check me on that. Anyway, the Karate Master, Dojo Master, whatever this guy is, he doesn't stand a chance against Machamp. And our prize for winning, our last encounter, Hitmonchan. Alright, now it's time to head to the Fuchsia City Gym, and I bet you watching at home had in the back of your mind, what are you gonna do about the 2 mandatory jugglers in Koga's gym? Well, my friends, I'm going to pray. In all honesty though, I didn't know how the battles would go. I assumed at the absolute worst possible luck, I'd lose one Pokemon, and I already know who my sacrificial lamb would be in any situation. But things work out for me. Machamp solos the first juggler, with only the Kadabra outspeeding, but it goes for a turn 1 recover to waste its time and mine. The second juggler I was a bit more worried about because the lead Drowsy knows Psychic, but the trainer class lives up to its name, juggling his Pokemon back and forth, and while Poliwrath does get hit with a super effective Confusion from Hypno, it takes it pretty well thanks to a turn of setup from Amnesia. Koga though, stands no chance against my fighters. Really fighter, because Poliwrath solos his team. I picked up the Psychic TM in Saffron, which I failed to mention earlier, and after setting up with Amnesia, his team just completely crumbles. The battle against our rival in Silphco is one I was nervous for. He now has an Alakazam, and I planned this battle around that thing. And I think this may be how we have to approach battles against him in the future as well. He leads Pidgeot as I lead Machamp. I have Rock Slide for super effective damage, but we don't one-shot. Luckily, we get a retroactive potion so I can take it out the next turn. Execute follows, and this thing just spams Reflect over and over against me. I thought it would go for one of its other moves, but I guess not. Looks like I learned something new about the AI. Gyarados follows, and now I want to bring in Poliwrath. I switch into a Dragon Rage and get hit with a second after setting up an Amnesia. I probably should have gone for Psychic in this instance, but choose Ice Beam, and the run gets blessed by Beerus himself as we freeze the Gyarados. I can set up fully, boosting my speed as well, take out the Gyarados, one-shot Alakazam with Body Slam, and one-shot his ace Charizard with Ice Beam. I want to take a moment to give Hitmonchan some screen time, but also want to talk about just how bad its special is. The grunt that guards Giovanni's chamber has a Cubone, Drowsy, and Marowak. Cubone and Marowak also have terrible special. I'm setting up some badge boosts so that I can hopefully one-shot the Drowsy with Strength, but you can see that we can't even one-shot a Cubone or Marowak, despite being nearly 10 levels higher with Ice Punch. Also, if you're wondering about Hitmonchan's IVs, here they are. I was checking all of these as I had Pokelink running in the background, and I think I got some of the worst possible spreads I could have gotten for any of my Pokemon. Oh well. Giovanni, he gets a brief mention here, but that's it. Sabrina is a gym leader that I had to think about, and I think I came up with a solid plan. The first stage was buying as many vitamins as I could prior, Carbos to be exact, and pumped them all into Primeape, who's my fastest Pokemon. And for this plan to work, we just need to make it by Kadabra, who Primeape is faster than, and Dig one-shots her lead. Perfect. Mr. Mime is next, and I'm going to swap to Poliwrath. My plan is to set up fully with Amnesia and hopefully sweep. I have to two-shot Mr. Mime thanks to its setting up light screen, but I'm able to one-shot the following Venomoth, moving on to her ace Alakazam. Looking back, perhaps Body Slam would have given me the one-shot due to Alakazam's frail defense, but with my special maxed out, I thought Ice Beam would get the job done, but it doesn't. Alakazam retaliates with a Psybeam. It doesn't crit, but it confuses Poliwrath. I hit myself in confusion the next turn, and Alakazam goes for Psywave, bringing me to 8 HP. Things were not looking great here. There were a few options. I could stay in and roll the dice and risk losing a valuable Pokemon to confusion damage. I could swap in the Sacrificial Lamb Hitmonchan to get a free swap into a Pokemon like Primeape or Machamp, or Alakazam could just end the run here. If it were to outspeed all of my Pokemon and crit with Psybeam, I choose option 1. Poliwrath gets through the confusion to land the finishing blow. That was too close for comfort. It's off to Cinnabar Island in the Pokemon Mansion. Aside from grabbing the vitamins scattered throughout here, I'm also going to pick up the TM for Blizzard, but I end up not using it. I thought it would come in handy in the league if I needed some extra oomph, but let's be real, Amnesia and Ice Beam will probably be all the oomph we need. Amnesia and Surf, however, are going to be my moves of choice against Blaine and his fire types. His lead Growlithe only spams agility against me because I'm a fighting type, and of course that psychic type move is super effective against my fighting Tadpole, but this is all fine by me. Go ahead and use that move, little doggo. My Tadpole fighter is going to use a psychic move as well and sweep your trainer's team. Giovanni is the final gym leader, and this one is going to be a tag team effort between the Hitmons. I wanted to give Hitmonchan some more screen time because I've spent more time in this run talking about how trash of a Pokemon it is, when it's just trying its best and trying to be a valuable member of the team. It is able to take down Giovanni's first 4 Pokemon, and hey, you saw that opening Ice Punch on Rhyhorn, who also has terrible special. It barely hung on, but to be fair, that was before I started going for badge boosts. I swap in Hitmonlee against Rhydon, since our health was a little low with Hitmonchan, and Hitmonlee, like it did earlier in the run, makes Red Foreman proud, KOing the Rock Rhino. Before heading off to the league, it's one more battle against our rival. Like in the Silphco battle, I lead with Machamp in this one. And also like in the Silphco battle, Rock Slide cannot one-shot Pidgeot. Its retaliating wing attack doesn't do much and we take it out the next turn. Rhyhorn is next, and this is the perfect Pokemon to swap to Poliwrath on. And you know what's coming next. Set up fully with Amnesia and Sweep. Well, not exactly, because against Alakazam, we get a critical hit with Surf, which bypasses our stat boost, and this is really unfortunate because I was fully expecting to see Alakazam use Psychic. Critical hit. Poliwrath fainted, but we see Reflect instead. Heartbreak and Heart Attack avoided, rival defeated. With the team leveled up to the cap of 56 and experience trained for the home stretch, this is the team. We have Hitmonlee, the kicking fiend, with double kick, high jump kick, meditate, and mega kick. The unfortunate thing about the Hitmons in Generation 1 is that there isn't a lot of move diversity when it comes to TMs. If they gave these things Earthquake or Rock Slide in Generation 1 like they have in later generations, they would be so much better. Hitmonlee though, it's great. Machamp, the 4-armed Musclemon with Earthquake, Low Kick, Body Slam, and Rock Slide. Fire Blast is also a TM option for this thing, but I'd rather have the all-physical set. Hitmonchan, the Punching Phenom with Strength, Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, and Agility. I purchased a Submission TM from the Celadon Mart to teach this thing, and had planned on teaching it over Thunder Punch. But sorry Hitmonchan, you're just going to be a sacrifice if we need a free swap. Primeape, the Fighting Pig Monkey with Dig, Thrash, Mega Kick, and Thunderbolt. Does anyone remember in the anime when Ash caught a Primeape? I think it could have been one of his best Pokemon had he not released it. I hated how he always released his Pokemon in the show. And finally, Poliwrath, arguably the MVP of the run with Ice Beam, Amnesia, Psychic, and Surf. This is the team. We have some Ghosts and an Alakazam on the Champions team to contend with. Can we claim victory? Let's find out. Lorelei and her ice types are up first, and my fighting types are licking their chops. Because of her AI, Dewgong will go for Rest over and over, because it sees it as the super effective option against my team of fighting types. And this battle is the perfect battle for Hitmonlee. Just set up and wipe her out. Bruno is next, and this is Hitmonchan's time to shine. I can set up some against the first Onix and knock it out with Ice Punch. However, against Bruno's Hitmonchan, I need to make sure I use special moves against it, because this thing has used counter on me before. It tries here, but no dice. Really, Machamp is the only Pokemon that puts up a fight. While it's able to get me down to half HP, I don't think Hitmonchan was ever threatened. And hey, I could have swapped if needed. Agatha is next, and it was between Machamp and Primeape for this one. I ultimately chose Primeape because it's faster, and we haven't seen it much since Mankey evolved. I have Dig for her Ghost in the Arbok, and I have to two-shot the Golbat with Thunderbolt. A battle that I thought could potentially be trouble was super easy. This brings us to Lance. I have Ice Beam. I have Thunderbolt on another Pokemon, but the Pokemon that has Ice Beam also has Amnesia. After setting up an Amnesia, I can take down Gyarados with 2 Psychics because my first crits. That's not foreshadowing of any kind. And since I'm part Fighting type, Lance's Dragonairs will only go for Agility. The only Pokemon that could potentially attack me is Aerodactyl, but because of my setup, I move first, and of course I'm going to one-shot it. Finally, the Pokemon League champion. I'm once again going to lead Poliwrath against Pidgeot. Turn 1, I go for Amnesia as it begins to glow for Sky Attack. I don't want to get hit by that move, so I go for Ice Beam, taking out the bird. Alakazam follows. It's faster and goes for Psybeam, which immediately confuses Poliwrath. And I hit myself not once, but twice. Even if I swap Poliwrath out, at 23 HP, what is it going to contribute? So I make the decision to stay in, and Alakazam finishes it for our first death of the run. I decide to bring in Primeape next since it's my fastest Pokemon. I probably should have gone for Mega Kick right away, but I go for Dig, and Alakazam goes for Reflect as I'm underground, lessening the damage from Dig, and Primeape eats a Psychic to the face when it comes up, leaving it on 4 HP. I go for Mega Kick now for maximum damage, which leaves Alakazam on low red health, as it claims another one of my Pokemon. I throw in Hitmonchan next, but Alakazam ends it quickly, getting a critical hit with Psybeam to one-shot it. This isn't looking good. I send in Machamp next, who's able to take a Psybeam from Alakazam before finishing it with an Earthquake. Out comes Rhydon, and I have a plan. I'm going to switch to Hitmonlee, and the plan is set up with Meditate and hopefully sweep. Rhydon badge boosts me some with Leer, but also brings me to a third of my HP with Fury Attack. I can finish it off with a double kick and one-shot the following Exeggutor with Mega Kick, but against Gyarados, I get a critical hit with Mega Kick. Unbelievable. Gyarados retaliates with Hyper Beam to take out our starter, and it's all up to Machamp. It is able to move first against Gyarados, and Rock Slide can finish it off, bringing us to Charizard. If this thing goes for Rage, or potentially misses Fire Spin or Fire Blast, Rock Slide will get the one-shot. Unfortunately, Charizard chooses Slash, a 100% accurate move that will always crit due to its base speed. It finishes off Machamp and ends our journey. One Pokemon away from victory. Wow. Even though we didn't win the run, this was a great attempt, and the fighting type will have to be one that I bump up the list of Generation 2 runs to do right away. I know if I were to give this run one more go, we could get by the champion, but making it this far, I don't really have the motivation to run it back right now. As always though, thank you guys for the continued support on the channel. I'll see you in 2 weeks for the potential finale when we do the ground type, and maybe I'll include a follow-up to this run in that. Special shout out to my channel members, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Take care everybody.